for the delay. We had some technical difficulties, but we're here and ready to get started.
Um, so today we're going to be chatting you through sort of what it is that we think that you should be thinking about when you put together a really good pitch application. But I think the first thing that we'll do is probably start off with a little bit of an introduction to sort of She Leads Africa, the Entrepreneur Showcase, as well as myself and Afua. We started She Leads Africa because we really wanted to support high growth female entrepreneurs on the continent. We found that, when most people were thinking about, African female entrepreneurs, there was a real focus on sort of how do you empower sort of low income women and help them set up micro businesses. But I think both of us saw that there are a whole bunch of really amazing young African women who are starting businesses, and they really believe that they have the potential to actually scale. And we really wanted to be providing a service that supports those entrepreneurs. Now, the Entrepreneur Showcase was our first initiative. We held the first one last year. And everyone keeps asking us why it's an entrepreneur showcase and then what's the pitch competition and what's the difference between the two. So today I'm gonna do the grand reveal. Basically, an entrepreneur showcase is something that happens over 2 days, right? Whereas the pitch competition is something that's very targeted. Of course, it's the pitch competition that happens over 3-4 hours. Now, what it is that we did last year is, we opened applications. We got about 380 applications from about 27 different countries. Those people were then narrowed down to a list of 10 finalists. Those 10 finalists were then matched with mentors. So people who kind of had a private equity background, venture capital, etc., who then worked with them over a 6-week period to really help them get their pitch decks sort of investor ready. Those people were then flown to Lagos, where on the first day, they had an all-day workshop where we went through something sort of around sort of how do you think about a growth strategy, to sort of how do you think about being a leader of an organization, to thinking about marketing. In the evening, they then had a networking event where they were able to sort of meet with other young entrepreneurs as well as investors who were interested in putting money in startups. And then the next day was the actual pitch competition itself. So I would say is that the showcase really says that there's a little bit of pitch competition, but there's a little bit around networking and meeting other people and kind of showing people what it is that you do as an entrepreneur. But the pitch competition is something very specific that happens on one day. It's 3 hours, etc. So that is like the long and short. And I think that, the reason sort of why we decided to put this together is because, we realized that, when we put out the applications last year, I think a lot of people were a little bit confused about what the requirements were. And so I think, sometimes people would send in a pitch deck that wasn't quite complete. And then, of course, we are not able to sort of like take you and your application is not as competitive. So, we really wanted to make sure that very early on, we provided as much information as possible so that people know exactly what it is that we're expecting. And then you make sure that your application is tailored towards that. And a quick introduction, my name is Yasmin, co-founder of She Leads Africa, half Nigerian, half Ghanaian. And this is Afua, who is my co-founder. We used to work together. We weren't really friends when we worked together, but now we're best friends, of course.
Or enemies, you never know.
Whichever one. She's now going to go and talk to you a little bit around sort of, okay, what are actually the applications for the pitch competition? And she's going to probably ramble a little bit less than I do so that it's very clear.
Great. Thanks again, everyone, for joining us. Wanted to take you all through each question to talk about kind of what kind of answers we're looking for. We've gotten some initial introductory questions about, okay, how do I put this together? How does it make sense? And we wanted to answer those for you. So first, on the pitch application, we want you to tell us more about your company. If you have social media profiles, if you have a website, please do share those with us because it provides more context into who you are, what you do, so that we can kind of feel what it's like with your business. We have a question here that says, at what stage is your venture? And there are 3 options. Early development, we're still building. The beta launch, we're building and have users. And post-launch, we've launched and have users. And it's important for us to know where you are at each stage so that we can judge and evaluate your application accordingly. If you've been in business for 3 years and you only have, like 20 customers, okay, we'll look at you differently if you've only been in operations for 6 months, you already have 20 customers, and you've raised $10,000. We'll judge each of those type of businesses differently, and we'll give you the benefit of the doubt, if you're a younger business and you have less customers. But we need to understand where you are and at what stage is your business. The next question is around your elevator pitch. If we were to send out a tweet or answer a simple question about what this business is about, we'd want that 140 character or one-line answer. So if someone asks me, what is She Leads Africa? She Leads Africa is a social enterprise that invests in high-growth female entrepreneurs on the continent and the diaspora. Boom. It gives you the fundamentals about what we're doing, and then also gives you the opportunity to ask more questions. So please make sure you have a smart and quick answer for that question. The next one, the longer pitch, is where you're able to give more context into what your company does and what problem it solves. This is a really important one because oftentimes people say, oh, we have this great idea, but they won't tell us what the actual problem is. Why should your customers care about it? And what will your business do to make things easier for your customers? We want to have that answer very clear cut. The next question is, tell us your business story. This is an opportunity for you to provide some more color about how you came up with this idea. How did this problem personally affect you? How have you seen the business grow and develop over time? And kind of what you've learned so far.
And if I can just jump in really quickly, the interesting thing about the business story as well is it kind of gives you an opportunity to talk about sort of why you specifically would be the right sort of person to build this business. Because, obviously, if you tell me that, give you a perfect example, Sheree, who won our pitch competition last year, of course, she has Tastemakers Africa, which is a mobile travel app. Now, with her business story, she had told us about how, she used to work in development, so she traveled around the continent a lot. Now, of course, that then adds color because now I really understand and believe a little bit more why someone like her would be able to pull off the business that she says that she wants to pull off.
Yeah. Thank you, Yasmin.
Anytime.
The next one is around your business milestones. What have you achieved so far, and what are you looking to do over the next 6 months? This is critical because we want to know kind of what you've already done. What type of skin, do you have skin in the game? Have you already started? A lot of people have good ideas, but what have you done so far? Have you already done a survey of 100? Have you already set up your Facebook page and gotten 1,000 likes? Have you developed your first collection for your fashion line? Whatever you have done, share it with us. This is not the time to keep secrets or keep things undercover. Share us the progress you've made, and also tell us about what you want to do and you want to accomplish over the next 6 months, so we can get an idea for your vision and focus for the business. The next question is around your business model. This is important. How do you make money? You get this thing from this place, then you now do some voodoo on it, and then you sell it to these people, and you sell it at $10, but it only costs you $5, so you make $5 in profit for every single unit. Boom. We want to know what the secret sauce is. How does it work? About your model that will be successful. Why is it different than what other people are doing? So, one of the companies was around fashion and selling things, selling fashion to Nigerian consumers. Now, a lot of people are selling fashion, but her unique point was the community that she was able to build. So part of her business model was having a strong social media and community presence. You should share that with the audience, with us, and let us know kind of what's working and how you're going to generate value from your unique business model. The final question around tell us about your company is, what is your long-term growth strategy? We're looking for high-growth entrepreneurs who have the passion and the vision to be Pan-African and even global. So what does that look like for you? Does that mean you expand from shoes to accessories to houseware for your contemporary lifestyle business? Does it mean that you expand from Nigeria to Ghana to Kenya to Tanzania? What does it mean for your long-term business to grow and thrive and develop? What do you want it to look like? And share it, because many of the evaluators, they want to know, is this person thinking big enough? If I was to invest in them, is there a long-term growth plan that I can really believe in? So make sure that you share that in the application. The next section is around, tell us about your team. Investors want to support people that they believe in, people that they know can move a company forward when things are tough, when things are challenging. So this is your space to convince them that you have the skills, talent, and the networks to get it done. Now, some people may say, okay, but it's only me on my team. And that's fine if you're just starting out. But tell us about who else in your network has been supporting your business. Do you have advisors that have relevant experience? Are you connected to a local university or a hub that's sharing information with you? Let us know who is in your ecosystem that's helping you move this forward. The final section around the application is, why do you want to participate? There are a lot of business plan competitions. There are a lot of activities that you can go and talk about your business. None of them are as great as ours, obviously. But, what is it about She Leads Africa Showcase, and what is it about your business that makes sense for you? It could be the focus on women entrepreneurs. It could be expanding your business to Nigeria. It could be hanging out with me and Yasmin. Whatever it is, let us know why it matters to you to participate in this program. Finally, we ask for your pitch video and a pitch deck. So we had some questions from the audience earlier. One of the questions was, what kind of business ideas does SLA support? We are industry agnostic. So we look at industries or companies across the scope. So if it's fashion, entertainment, agriculture, what else is this?
Anything.
E-commerce, consumer goods, health, anything.
I mean, if you told us that you were trying to buy an oil field, that might be difficult.
Yeah, that one we can't do.
Because it's a lot of money. But
yeah, we can't help you with that one.
Yes.
That's something that we could help with. But we're very clear, we do not work with NGOs or foundations. We're specifically focused on entrepreneurs who are trying to build businesses. Now, what if you're a social enterprise? If your business has a social mission, or there's a piece of the business that supports local communities, that's great. But if you do not have a sustainable revenue model in which you provide a service or a product that people are going to pay you for, then you unfortunately are not eligible for the competition.
I think that on the NGO piece, I don't think it's not that we're saying that NGOs can't be strong businesses. Of course they can be, but I think it's more around sort of saying, really one of the things that we try to do, or one of the big, I think one of the things that's most exciting about our pitch competition, I think, is the extent to which we're actually able to match businesses with people who are interested in investing in businesses in Africa. Now, most of the times investors are obviously going to be looking for some sort of, to invest in profit-making entities. So that's really just the focus for the pitch competition. Although if you have any very particular questions around that, because we know that sometimes foundations spin off and they also have profit-making entities, so you can also email us at info@sheleadsafrica.org if you have very specific questions around that.
Great. So we just got a question from Esther, who wanted to know if an e-commerce business can apply. So yes, e-commerce businesses are definitely eligible for the competition. Last year, one of our top finalists, Fashpa, has a online fashion e-commerce store. So we definitely look for those. But we want to say, okay, how is your e-commerce different? What additional value is it bringing to your community? Because there are large players, depending on your country, and a lot of people are putting money into this space. So why do you believe that yours will be successful and will be able to distinguish itself in the market? So please do apply, Esther. We had another question around, is there an age limit to apply? Yes, there is. We are looking for startups that have a woman on their team between the ages 18 to 35. Unfortunately, we can't support all of the entrepreneurs that are out there, so we do have to create some classifications of who we can and cannot work with. So unfortunately, we can only have entrepreneurs 18 to 35.
And to be clear, the woman needs to be part of the senior leadership, and she obviously must have to do the business. So she cannot be the office cleaner. That doesn't work.
Got it. Okay, guys. So our next section is around
the pitch video.
Pitch videos.
So one of the things that we ask people to do is to include a 1-minute pitch video. I actually think we're going to be a little bit flexible on that. You can go a little bit longer. I think we're going to cut it off at somewhere between 3 and 4 minutes. And so I think that the first question, that people often ask is, why include a pitch video? One of the things that I would say is that, a pitch deck, an online application, yes, they give us some flavor, but I think it's very different when you kind of see the entrepreneur who you're thinking about bringing over. You see them talking about their business. Sometimes in a pitch video, you kind of have the ability to, I think, add a little bit more flesh and color to your business. And to the extent that you can add more flesh and color, of course, it's slightly easier for your application to be successful. What is it that we want to learn about you? I think, first of all, I want to get a sense of, how well are you able to actually talk about your business? Because, one of the things that's going to be happening when you come here is, of course, you're going to be pitching in front of a panel of judges. So one of the things that I want to see is, okay, how well can you actually sit and just talk about your business? The next thing that I want to see, and to be honest, a lot of this depends on how it is you design your pitch video. I've kind of seen 2 types of pitch videos. One of them was done by Fashpa, and I'm actually going to send the link now. It's going to be in the chat icon, so you guys can find it on YouTube. And what Honey did was she very much focused on sort of talking about why she started the business, but then she also actually showed us the operation. So, she showed us the office, she showed us a couple of her employees. So again, we could really kind of see that, wow, this is the business that's actually looking very exciting. Now, the second type of pitch video that I've seen was actually done by Sheree, the person who won our pitch competition. I'll also send that one again in a bit. And like a little montage of people in the US, and it was like, okay, if you wanted to travel to Africa, how would you travel there? And it had little clips of people being like, oh, I don't know, oh, I'm not sure what I would do. What she was doing there is essentially she was using a pitch video to explain what it is that the problem was. So some people really focus on their business and the operations and trying to show us, okay, this is what it looks like, as a way to kind of visualize the problem and be like, okay, look, I'm actually showing you this is what the problem is, and this is why my solution is then so interesting. So I think that in terms of sort of what it is that you include in the pitch video, it kind of depends on sort of which angle you want to take. I think up to what you think is slightly more interesting. To a business that's slightly further along, you actually might want to show your operations, because of course a big sell for a business that's further along is that you have traction. Where if it's something very early and you haven't had that much traction, if you're able to show that this is a service that a lot of people are excited about and that a lot of people desire, then of course, I would go the route of Sheree and really kind of focus on using the pitch video to highlight the problem. Now, we got one question from Choma, who said, what is preferred for the 1-minute pitch video, the entrepreneur speaking or a whiteboard video? Again, I think that that's kind of completely up to you. I would say to people, you don't need to go out and spend thousands of dollars on a pitch video. You can do something really cool with a smartphone. You just need to be a little bit creative in the way that you tell your story. If you have a video editing app, you should be able to make something simple. So I'd say, don't overthink it. Just get out there and sort of decide what it is that you want to do and just do it. It doesn't need to be perfect. It just needs to be interesting, and it just needs to be compelling. And obviously, if you have good music in the background, that's always a plus. It's always exciting when I see that.
Yeah, music is critical.
It changes everything.
Yeah. I'll just reiterate Yasmin's point around, when you come to Lagos, You have to interact with a lot of people and talk about your business. You have to get on stage and talk about your business. Or even if you see someone walking down the street, you need to be able to sell them their business. So use this opportunity to sell us on why you are a good fit for the program, why you're and show some personality and some color, because that can really help.
Fantastic.
So the next section is around the pitch deck, which we always get a lot of questions on, and people are always really concerned about. So what we're going to do is share. We're going to share the pitch deck actually from our last year's winner, Sheree Robinson. She graciously offered to allow us to talk about her pitch deck, and we're also going to show kind of why it was a good one. You know, what was it about her deck that that we really liked? So we're going to share that with you all. We're going to just do a quick screen share so that you all can see what her pitch deck looks like. Let me see what it looks like. Okay, go back up. Let me make sure it's sharing. Hold on, let's see. It's not showing. Okay, guys, so we're just, okay. Great, so clean and simple layout. And that's one of the things that we really liked about Sheree's deck. The next one is she introduced what the problem was. And that's really critical, is you want to tell us, first off, what is the solution that you're trying to solve? Yeah, it's like so.
Sorry, the internet in Africa is trying to be the devil and hold us back.
But we're progressing.
Persist.
We are progressing. We are moving forward with life. Okay, so you know, what is the actual problem? So for Sheree, her customers were individuals who are looking for unique experiences. And sometimes people like to personalize it. They'll say, oh, this is Nancy, this is Lesejo, this is Jemima, this is Kweku. Whomever your target customer is, you can personalize it and say, okay, this is this person. These are the experiences. This is the trouble that they're having in their life. And then tell us why your product will solve it. Then Sheree tells us about the total market size. And that's really critical because we are looking for high growth businesses. And we want businesses that aren't only going to be focused on one city or one country. You know, are there customers around the continent or around the world that could use your product or service? So for Sheree, you know, she told us that there were, you know, out of 56 million travelers, 10 million of them are going to Africa. And, you know, they spend $1,000 per week in travel, so it's a $10 billion market. That is an exciting number. Investors on the stage, they want to see numbers that are big and bold and prove that this company is worth it. Yeah. Now, please don't make up any numbers now. Use real numbers. There are lots of research reports that are out there that talk about consumer spending in Africa, that talk about, that do research. So please share use those numbers and use real research.
Yeah. And I would also just say another thing that I really liked about Sheree's pitch deck is that, you know, going back to like the first page when she sort of really personalized who the consumer was, you know, she was like talking about Brian. The interesting thing about doing something like that is that it allows people to really sort of feel this is the person who would be using this service. And I think that to the extent that you're able to like make that real, it makes it a little bit more believable. Because I'm sitting there and be like, oh my God, I know Brian, like I know someone exactly like Brian. And so then I'm like, okay, it's a little bit easier for me to understand who this Brian is and whether or not he would use that service. The second thing that I would say is you don't need a whole bunch of text on in your pitch deck. Sometimes when you have too much information and too many details, it actually drowns out the important ones. So if you look on, the page where Sheree describes like the market size, there are like 4 or 5 numbers, and that's it. And that's really all I need. Like, I just need to know that, hey, it's big, it's $10 billion. And she gives me maybe a little bit of a build-up of how she goes through all the different numbers. So again, I would really push and encourage people, please do not include like all the calculations, what you multiply by this and this and this to get to this and yada, yada, yada. If you really feel like you need to share that, then like put it in a footnote and have it as small so that people can like refer to it if they want that. But I think anything other than that, it just becomes too much detail, and then the important stuff gets lost, people miss it, and they really don't understand what you're talking about.
Yeah, that is very critical. Remember, people are going to see your pitch when you're presenting it from afar. So really small text or very dense text is very challenging for people to read, and you just want them to get the main points. The next thing that Sheree does is she tells us what her solution is. Very clear. And remember, we told you one line, right? So Sheree tells us it's a mobile app and content platform where people find cool things to do, book curated experience, and explore Africa in a new way. Boom. That's it. Like, clearly we know what the problem is and what her solution is and how big the market is. Now I'm ready to learn more and get into the details. The next thing she does is she shows us what it looks like. You know, when Sheree pitched at the competition, it had not fully launched yet, but she had been working with designers, with developers to, put up together her prototype. And so you should definitely, if you have a business that's already existing, show us what it looks like and show us how it works. If your business hasn't launched, show us what you think it'll look like. It doesn't have to be fancy, but do it in Photoshop. Let us know, Photoshop or PowerPoint or however, but let us know what it looks like, what you think it might do, so that we get a good sense of it. Yeah. And then Sheree kind of talked us through the whole way, the entire way that she develops a community and marketing and engagement through her brand. Because people always want to know, okay, you found this problem. Now you know what the solution is. How are you going to get customers, and how are you going to keep them engaged in your community? So she then told us how she was going to get customers and what her marketing plan was. Now, this one is critical. Please, if you're listening to me, listen well. She showed traction. This is one of her more recent pitch decks, but even then, she showed us the traction in terms of social media followers and unique web visitors. If you've done any type of surveys, have a survey. If you have any additional, initial meetings or contracts, show us all of those here. Traction. We want to know what you've done so far, the progress that you've made, and that you actually are working on your business. That's really, really important.
Yeah, this to me, by the way, is one of like the most important pages. And honestly, this is one of the things that I think that people focus on the least. What I would say to you is choose 3 or 4 interesting metrics which you think show how much progress your business has made. For Sheree, of course, she does a lot of stuff online. So for her, the number of people coming to her website, the number of people who've actually signed up to download the app, that's what is a good way of like signifying progress, right? So think about, again, what are the 3 to 4 metrics attached to your business that will be able to show people that you're actually making progress. It's not all the time that it's going to be social media. It doesn't always need to be that. Some of it could be that, you did a survey and, 96% of the people who you tested said that they really liked that survey, or they said that they really liked your product. You can go with something like that, but just choose a metric and stick with it and really show us why that's important and why that's relevant.
The next section is around competitive landscape. And this is important because there are no new ideas, right?
Not a single new one. Even we acknowledge that about ourselves. There's no new idea.
Yeah, right. So maybe how you are innovative is how you now twerk it and change it and add something new to it. But you have to be honest and admit that people are currently solving that issue in a different kind of way. It may not be the best way, But if someone's hungry, they're going to find food. So if you want to sell them a food product, how are they currently solving that need and why is yours better, right? And then how are you going to convince them to move away from the current products that they're using to the new ones? So many people use this type of matrix where they compare kind of on four different
cost and quality.
Yeah, four different variables on how their product differentiates themselves, right? So for Sheree, hers were around cost and quality, right? So many people like expensive versus discount, and then quality was kind of like no expertise in Africa versus very, very focused and exclusive on Africa. And she had decided that those were really the most important variables that her customers care about. So if you're a fashion company, maybe yours is about choice because fashion lovers, they really want to have variety and access to all the latest brands. So it's choice and cost. If yours is focused on creating a new product, maybe it's the quality. People want very good quality ones or low quality ones, and then cost. Figure out what's most important and then how you compare against your competitors. And then also what you're going to do to outcompete them and how you're going to prepare and deliver a better product or service to your customers.
I would also say that with this competitive landscape piece, I've sort of seen people do this in two ways. Sometimes they do this sort of 2x2, which is fine. But for some people, there are other metrics that they want to use to compare themselves. And so what they usually do is they kind of do, it's a grid, and on the left-hand side, it will have maybe, cheap and easy to use, affordable. I don't know, that's the same as cheap. There's maybe cheap, easy to use, something else. And then they'll show that, okay, our competitors only have two of these qualities which we know that people want, but we have four. So that's another way of kind of like showing that you can provide the service better than your competitors can.
Yeah, got it. So the next thing that she did, and you should definitely have to have, is how do you actually make money? If you are an e-commerce platform, typically it's a percentage of these services, but we want to be clear. How do you make money and what do you believe your total revenue potential is? And how are you going to increase or expand on that? As I said, investors get excited by big numbers, but they also want to know that you've thought through your value chain. And your value chain is just, at every step of the process, how do you improve upon the service or deliver service or product for your customers and kind of where your money comes from out of that. Yeah, I think the last page that we'll show is around very quickly kind of your growth plan. Where do you want to go and what do you want to do with your business? So Sheree said, every year we want to expand and grow. And these are the additional services we want to offer. And this is, what it means in terms of users and how many people will be on our platform. Let us know about your vision. Tell us where you want to reach in the next 3 to 5 years. I get excited when I interact with an entrepreneur who knows where they want to go and has a Pan-African vision. So if you want to be in 5 different countries or you want to be the #1 provider in West Africa, tell us and show us that in your numbers. The final thing is...
There's 2 things actually. Yeah. How much money do you need to actually do this? And then some sort of projections, costs and revenues, ideally over 3 years. Of course, if you have some existing, put them in there, but then you should also project into the future. This is what I'm trying to do over the next 3 years. These are my sort of like main revenue streams. This is what I'm expecting to come from each one. These are my main cost buckets. This is what I'm expecting to come from each one. And, sometimes people also, if you have, for example, a lot of capital expenditure that's required to pull this off, they'll also say, okay, aside from, my sort of like regular costs, this is the CapEx that I will need every year to kind of fuel my growth. Those are really, really important, as well as sort of how much money you're actually looking to raise from investors. I would say that I'm such a stickler for numbers. I think Africa is about it. Like, if I open a pitch deck and I don't see numbers, I'm like, my brain has already switched off. Because to me, I want to know how... It's not that, to be honest, projections a lot of the times don't end up coming true, right? Your costs change, things happen, they move around. But what it does show is that it actually shows that you sat and kind of thought through how it is you would spend your money. And I kind of want to get an indication of how you think you want to allocate your capital. because that then allows me to really understand, okay, does this person really understand sort of where it is that they need to spend money to make sure that they get the growth that they want to get. Another thing that I would say is, if there is anything surprising about where it is that you've decided to put in your capital, or sort of you have a cost bucket item that's like really, really large, sometimes it's okay to explain that. Again, a little star, put it in a footnote and explain. To give a perfect example, I was looking at a pitch deck. It was for a tech, it was looking for a tech business. And it was something like, 75% of her cost was going into like staff costs, which is like a little bit weird for a startup, because usually you'd expect it to kind of be like other things, right? Whereas obviously for her, now what she had done is that, most of the costs for her business go in actually developing her platform. Now, instead of, sort of like outsourcing that, she sort of hired developers. And that's what that's something completely fair and it makes sense. But at first, it was really weird to me, and I was like, okay, well, is this person just doing something weird where they're taking their money and sort of providing themselves a really large salary? Because she didn't give any sort of breakdown around saying, okay, when I say salary cost, this is how much is going to me as the CEO, versus this is how much is going to the developers, versus this is how much is going to our marketing director. And so I'm looking at it and I'm like, okay, well, maybe she's just taking all this money and just being paying herself a big fat salary, and ultimately that's really not what investors need to see. So what I would say is that if there's anything surprising or odd, feel free to kind of explain it, or break your costs down in such a way that people don't have these open questions.
Now, if this sounds confusing or sounds a lot, please do, check out the resources that we have online on our website. We have sample pitch decks under our FAQ section. There's also several articles that we've shared around putting together a strong pitch deck. So please make sure that you use those resources that we've shared. Okay. We have a couple of questions from the audience. One was, you can close it out. How many slides are preferable in a pitch deck? That's a very good question. Typically, your pitch deck should not be, we're back. Typically, your pitch deck should not be more than 10 to 12 slides long. You're not telling your whole story there. You want the important highlights that want me to go and learn more. So 10 to 12 with the fundamentals should be enough. We have another question from Juliet. What tools would you propose for making kind of quick and well-designed decks and slides? So Charades was actually made out of PowerPoint. So if you have PowerPoint, you can use that. I think people also use Google Slides. You can also make them there. There are also a couple of online free templates like PitchEnvy, PitchEnvy. They also have free slides that you can use there.
Please don't use Word. Don't. Don't do anything like that, please. It's just not, it's too much. It's oppressive and it's stressful. Honestly, don't do it. Don't do it.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Okay, so Veronique sent us a question. Name your top 3 most impressive pitch decks that you've ever received. What made them stand out? We didn't prep for this, obviously. So I mean, we really like Charades, obviously. Yeah. What I liked about hers was that it was a clean design.
Bold, the market size was there. Boom. She spoke about, I know we didn't show this page. She's spoken about her team. She showed the pictures of the team members. She explained what they've done. She was very clear on, okay, this is who's in my team, and kind of this is why this is the team that's able to kind of execute what it is that I'm trying to do. So I liked her pitch deck a lot.
Yeah. I also liked Ghana Bamboo Bikes. Mm-hmm. And I'll say they are a social enterprise based out of Kumasi, Ghana, that creates bicycles out of bamboo and trains young people on how to create bicycles and gives them local skills. And what I liked about hers is that they had a lot of pictures, right? And so instead of just thinking about, okay, what does it mean to create a bamboo bicycle? They had pictures of people in the community riding the bicycle, people in the community creating the bicycle. So when she talked about her impact or her model, we could see it there. She also had a picture of like the UN head riding the bicycle because they got invited to some exhibition. So remember, if you can show instead of tell in creative images or pictures, because that can be very helpful. What's the third one?
Oh, we saw one for the Huawei pitch competition. Huawei competition voyage.
Okay, fine.
That one's good. I like that one. And again, it's just because she had all her numbers. I love when people come with their numbers. You tell me where your money is going. You tell me how much money is going. It's like, I'm so excited. Like, if you come, your numbers are on point. I just will never say no.
You see me, I
like pictures. I like numbers. So if you want to impress both of us, and actually I should tell people that it's usually around 10 people who would read your application.
It's not us,
so actually. So I know everyone thinks you want to get upset with me and Afua because we didn't let you guys in. That's not how it works out. We actually purposefully put a really big review committee to make sure that there was no Yahoozy, no shadiness going on. Afua is not trying to slide her sister in, to slide in my cousin or my friend. So it is not the two of us. It's actually an external committee.
Yes.
But we really kind of tell them and give them direction on what it is that we want. And for me, it's please come, know your numbers, and communicate those. It's very important.
Boom. Okay, that takes us perfectly into the next section, which is what is the review committee looking for? Yasmin, please.
Yeah. Okay, so we're actually going to have an article about this on our website. So it's going to be coming out soon. So you can definitely check that out if I'm speaking too quickly. But one of the things that I would say is the first thing I kind of want to say is, okay, what's the problem that you're trying to solve? And, some sort of indication that the market actually wants it solved in that way. To give you a perfect example, if you tell me that, the problem you're trying to solve is that people want to, travel, fast, long distances, and you come and tell me, well, you're going to genetically engineer horses that are really, really fast, I'm going to be like, well, that doesn't really make sense because people would probably just prefer cars. So if you can also show me some, indication that people actually kind of want the problem solved in the way you want to solve it, then that's always good. The next thing that I'd want to know is a little bit, of course, about sort of how you're going to beat your competition. So first of all, I want to know that you actually know who those competitors are. Businesses don't operate in a competitive landscape. It's important for me to understand that you actually know that. And I want to understand sort of like what's your plan to make sure that can be better than them. The next one is, I want to know who has your back. What does your team look like? Who are your advisors if you don't have a team? Tell us a little bit about them. But be very, very clear to sort of try and link the specific skills that people in your team have to sort of the business it is that you have. So for example, if you are in the retail business, I would kind of be looking for people who maybe have some sort of expertise in, distribution or in logistics, they've been in a retail consumer goods company before, something like that, because then it makes me sort of believe that not only do you have a good idea, but you're actually going to be able to execute it. Good ideas are like, everyone has good ideas. I have like 1,000, business ideas every single day. But it's really around saying, okay, do you actually have the team that's going to be able to execute that? The next one is, of course, around the money and the numbers. How much do you want? Where is it going? What are you doing with it? I can't overtalk the importance of these sorts of figures. Please really like have them in there going on like with the money side. And then the next one is, we want some sort of like indication, and this one is sort of hard to glean from a pitch deck, to be honest, with some sort of indication that you're really like in this for the long haul, like that you're serious about this, that you actually really care about this like business. If you kind of done things in this area before, like that's always like a good thing, because we really want to know that this is someone who has, the tenacity and the, what's the word they use when people keep trying?
Persistence,
determination. Everything like that. All of that is really, really important. So, if you're able to show that, that's always a plus. Now, we got a couple of questions. One is from Blessing. Do you need to have a detailed cash flow? You don't necessarily need a cash flow, but I want to see your revenues broken up into like key revenue streams. I want to see your costs broken up into expenditure, if it's important for your business. And then the last one is how much money you actually looking for? Those are the 4 main things that you need. If you want to send in a detailed cash flow, that's also cool as well, but it's just, I don't know, it seems like something boring to have to sit down and do.
No.
If you want to do it, go ahead. Does a business that has been in existence for less than 1 year have a fair chance of winning? Our winner had been in business. Actually, our top 3 had been in business for less than a year, right? Yeah, the top 3. So of course that's fine. But I think that the reason why they were good is they were really kind of able to demonstrate traction. And I think that they were also really able to demonstrate, if they didn't actually have traction, they were able to demonstrate that they'd done some sort of like consumer survey, some sort of indicate to us that, okay, yes, I might not be all the way there yet, but I really know that, you know, as I ramp up, this is actually something that people really, really want.
I know. Thank you. Our next one, and we get a lot of questions around what are the top mistakes that people make, or kind of what are our top pet peeves. So I'm going to go through 5 of them. Please listen carefully, right? Top application pet peeve. Not explaining clearly what your business does. To change Africa, and our business is very innovative and we want your support. What? Okay, I mean, how? What does it do? How is it different than anything else that's happening? Like, that's the most basic one. You have to be able to clearly explain how you add value and what your business does that makes it unique and interesting. Boom. Second application pet peeve. Not including any evidence of traction or progress that you've made. I think this is one of my saddest ones, because there are a lot of good startups and entrepreneurs that we've seen. And then afterwards they'll say, oh, but we've done all these things. But if you don't clearly show us all the things that you've done, all the progress that you've made, why it makes sense for us to choose you, then it's hard for us to see that. So please be clear. What traction have you made? Who have you talked to? Who's supporting you? Be very clear. Use as many numbers as you can. If you haven't started measuring your growth, start measuring it today, so that if you apply by June 30th, you say, in the past month, we've already increased by 50%, and we assume that that increase will grow. I mean, you have to start somewhere. So if you're not starting to measure your progress, do it today. Figure out what's most important for your business and start measuring that.
To give a good example, I mean, some of the metrics that we measure are, I mean, there are 4 things that for us, because I mean, for us, like, we're really trying to create a community of sort of young African women. So social media is really important for us. So we look at, you know, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. We also look at, you know, website views. Within website views, we actually break it down and look by country, because, you know, we make sure that the people who are coming from the continent are the people who are looking at our what do you call it? Are looking at our website. So we'll also kind of like break it down into 3 to sort of say, okay, what are the top 3 countries by traffic? The next thing that we also look at is there's one more thing. The other thing that we look is, we do look at our newsletters as well, but still on the website point, we kind of look at, unique visitors and how that ratio is changing over time. Because of course, we want to be making sure that it's not always new people. Of course, we always want new people, but we want to make sure that people who come are actually like coming back. So, that's kind of how we've thought about the metrics to track, and that's just because the specific businesses that we are trying to drive. Because, what we care about is a community of young African female entrepreneurs. We want to make sure that, the services and the things that we're putting up on our website, people actually like them and find that useful. And a good indication of someone finding it useful is the fact that they keep coming back to it. So that's why we've sort of thought about, the different metrics that we follow. And then of course, also like our newsletter as well, sort of like seeing how is that growing over time. We track it every 2 weeks. We actually look at percentage growth. And so that way, when we go back to, our corporate partners, we can say, okay, look, this is how much, we've grown over time.
So for you, any business, like every single business has metrics to evaluate, and you should be able to show positive traction. Third pet peeve, not telling us how you're going to find customers and market to them. This one is Harsha. Facebook is not enough. Everyone is doing Facebook. Everyone can do an ad, right? But we want to understand, we want to know, do you understand who your target customer is? Where are they? What are they doing? And what makes a compelling argument to them so that they'll use your product or service? And we want you to be specific and say, my target customer is blah, 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 blah. You know, and this is where I want to find them, and this is what I'm going to tell them.
Yeah.
What are your actual strategies that you're going to use?
Yeah.
That's really important.
Because I think that speaking of one of the, now going back to the pitch decks that impressed me, is there's one called, it's voyaj.com, voyaj.com. And one of the things that she did is, you know, it's sort of a little bit like Tinder, a little bit like Airbnb, but it's basically like connecting people who are looking to travel to new places. And so one of the things that she said is that, you know, okay, so she's really focusing on universities. So, you know, she then kind of showed us that, you know, there are a couple of universities that she was focusing on. She had like brand ambassadors in each of those places. So now I understand, okay, look, if she's targeting young people, is to find a mass of young people, a university, and then she's actually kind of that she's able to access that market by having brand ambassadors in that university. So something like that really makes it clear to me that she's actually going to be able to go and find the people who it is that she says that she wants to find.
My fourth application pet peeve, not applying early. Now, this one is unfortunate because applications are reviewed on a rolling basis. And what happens is, you know, people choose their favorites. Of course, people are people. Application committee will see people that they really like. And if you happen to be in the same industry as someone that is a fan favorite, you have to be so much better to compete against that person. Well, you could have just been the first one and could have just been very, very good to kick them out the slot, and then everyone is comparing themselves against you. You know, everyone gets a complete chance, and we look at it. But if you've already looked through 100 fashion applications, you know, yours has to be exceptionally unique to cut through and rise to the top of fashion startups, right? So we encourage you, apply early, right? Make sure that you're focusing on why you're unique so that you're not in the last big examples and answers to most of your questions.
This one really upsets me because I actually put this together. So when people don't read things that I put
What are you talking? How did you put this together?
I put some of the FAQs. I put a lot of them together.
But Yasmin,
it was
how?
me. And I provided a lot of this information.
Oh my God.
So when people don't read it, it really upsets me. So when you ask me questions like, oh, what are we meant to do? And I'm like, but it's in the FAQs. It really took us a lot of time, energy, and effort. And we was one of the ways we were trying to improve from last year because we got a lot of questions. So we said, you know what? I don't know why AFA's looking at this. But we said we're going to put up some, you know, an FAQ page so that people can go there and everything is there. So when you send us questions that are very clearly in the FAQ section, it just really, it saddens my heart, and I don't sleep well. I don't.
You know what saddens my heart? When Yasmin takes credit for work that I did.
Well, it was actually me. I think that.
Let's go check the. We're not going to get into it today. We will not get into it today. But point of the story is, we have pulled together a lot of articles on putting together a pitch deck. We have a lot of examples there. We have a lot of tips on our website. So please make sure that you access those tips and so that you can improve your application. So we have a couple of questions from social media. If you have any questions, please do send them. Use the hashtag AskSLA. One question we have is, will we air the hangout? I mean, will we air the pitch competition in September? Will we live stream it? Yes, we will, because we do think it's important for all of us to learn. So for our top finalists, we will be live streaming their pitches. Another question we have was around traction, and like how can you figure out how to make traction, how to measure it, how to do those kind of things. This is something that we'll have to look into a bit. I imagine that there are a lot of articles around traction, but it's really about, the most basic thing for a business is customers and revenue, right? So that should be your easiest way to measure traction. How many new customers do you have? How much, how much revenue do you have? That's the most basic one. And then you can take it a level lower, right? What helps you get more customers and what helps you get more revenue? And those are some of the intermediary metrics that you can look at. But we can definitely look those up and share some of them on our social media channels, in our communities.
One question around, I don't know if this is a question or it's a comment, that African education really doesn't focus on entrepreneurial skills. I agree. I don't think that we teach people, because for me, really being an entrepreneur is around being able to problem solve and being able to think. I think that education can be a little bit just around memorization. So cheated entrepreneurs, I do agree with you, and thank you for mentioning that. And pitching will be an issue for a girl who has never used a PC. That is true because this is on Google Hangouts. So if you don't have, well, I guess you could be watching it from your phone, but that's right. It is a challenge, and we could help everyone, but we're just two people. We just started as well, so I'm sorry.
Yeah. We had another question from Lamide. This guy. Lamide wants to know, what are the top mistakes? So we shared some of our top pet peeves, but just some mistakes that come off the top of my head. When people don't answer all the questions. Now that also is an issue. If we put the question down, then that means that we probably want an answer to it. So it's on the Google Hangout page. So please answer all of the questions. Another mistake that we've been seeing recently is people aren't sharing enough about their team. And teams, you can see Yasmin and I are a team, and the things that I'm great at, Yasmin tries at.
I do.
She tries, but she's not there yet. But the things that Yasmin are good at, I'm still great at them. So we balance. We work together. So we also want to see on your own team, saying how are you working together well. Do you have actually the team it takes to move better, to do better? And another thing is, if you don't have the necessary people on your team, but you identify who you do need, you should tell us, because that lets us know that you're thinking about it in the right way. So if you say, I have this business, but I really need an expert in this, and I want She Leads to help me find a mentor in this area, and then like, yes, okay, this person is thinking about it in the right way, and we can definitely work with them.
I think also another common mistake is like doing too much FPZ with your pitch deck and just not getting the fundamentals. So last year we saw one that was like, it was like a video. It was like,
it was zoom in, zoom out.
It was like, honestly, it was one of the most amazing things that I've seen in my life. And if I was looking for like a graphic designer or someone to put something together, like I would definitely have hired that person. It was like the Matrix, but like better. But then, it got to the end, and like neither of us knew what the business did. Like we were just like, wow, this was a really cool 2-minute experience. I call it an experience because it really was. But genuinely, like I didn't understand sort of what it is that they were doing because there was so much distraction. There was so, you just use PowerPoint or whatever the equivalent of PowerPoint is. Like you don't need to do anything like overly fancy. You decide to go really fancy, which I would encourage you not to. I would say make sure that you still have like the fundamentals, the key things that we've told you that you need to have in a pitch deck, because that's so much more important and so much more, I think, impressive. If you look at Sheree's pitch deck, it's clean, it's like simple, there's nothing like crazy fancy about it, but it gives you all the information that you need to have.
Got it. Okay, I think those are all the questions that we got.
Yeah.
Last call. I think that's all. Those are all the questions that we got from everyone.
Now, Afua has asked me to end with an inspirational message to encourage people to join our community and apply.
Yes. Please inspire us.
Okay, I'm going to inspire you. Honestly, so I'm going to say this, and I'm going to really take ownership of it. I really started now, whenever our social media intern Chick does it, so I can't take all the credit, but I really did start the Instagram, and so I'm really gonna choose an inspirational message from our Instagram to encourage you to apply and join our community.
Yasmin has a revisionist history over here.
Let me find a good one.
She chooses what will be true and what will be false.
It says, okay, my phone is ghetto. I don't want to show you.
You can't see that.
Life is fleeting, so go for it and dream big.
Boom. And with that, everyone, thank you for joining us today. Please do send us any additional questions you have on our Facebook page, Twitter, Instagram. All of them are at She Leads Africa. On a closing note, we're so grateful and appreciative for you all, for your interest in SLA. We're excited by the work that you all do that enables us to support and promote you all. And we're only able to bring but so many people to Lagos. The money is tight and it's hard to coordinate these things. But even if you're not accepted, we still want to support you. Programs to do that. So please stay connected to the community. We get asked all the time for referrals. Do you know someone who's doing something in this? Do you know? So we'd love to be able to share those opportunities with the community or refer you, but we can only do that if you're nice to us and you join our community, which you can do at sheleadsafrica.org.
Yeah. And I'd also say, of course, if you have any feedback for us, please do share it. We really love feedback. Sometimes it's nice when people aren't super aggressive, but if you can be nice, that's nicer, because then of course, everyone likes feedback that's kind of nice. But in any way you can, we'd really encourage you to sort of tell. You would only be doing this if it was useful and helpful. So if it's not, you should just let us know, because then we can stop speaking to our computers and boring. Our actual new intern, Kayde, who's sitting here, and she looks like she wants to die.
I think we just bored her. It's cool, Sha. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Have a good day. Bye.
I'm so impressed with myself.